What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about Nikola Motors. This trucking startup has gotten a ton of hype with their hydrogen-powered truck and their battery-powered truck. A ton of you have been asking me to make a video about them now that they're doing some sort of reverse merger and going to be trading publicly very shortly here. That's their plan. This would be an interesting time to analyze the company and share my thoughts. And I personally have kind of avoided commenting on this company because I'm not really a big fan of it. And I try and stay supportive, companies raising huge amounts of money, ambitious visions to change the future. If you're starting a startup that is going to build the truck from the ground up, powered on a new fuel source to, reduce the emissions of the freight industry, that's an awesome, ambitious move, very low likelihood of success. So that's the way I look at all of these companies. But to me, Nikola is just like, oh man, I just think this has so many red flags written all over it. And I've seen a lot of my friends and people I know ask me about it. So I just thought I'd give you my 2 cents. So Nikola Motor, this company is started out with this basically hydrogen powered truck, a new way, a new more sustainable zero emissions truck. But the problem is to build hydrogen or to get a hydrogen powered car, you need all of these massive hydrogen powered fuel cell stations. So originally that was their plan. Tesla comes out with its electric semi truck causing a huge splash. Nikola Motors ends up pivoting and have now since say that their battery electric truck is going to hit the market in 2021 before their fuel cell truck in 2023. They actually ended up doing a massive lawsuit against Tesla, trying to sue them, basically saying that the truck looked the same, and because it looked too much the same, they were getting confused with the Tesla brand, and because the Tesla brand was related to fires and fatal accidents, this was hurting Nikola Motors. So Nikola sued Tesla because Tesla was trying to be Nikola, even though you started a electric zero emission company and decided to call it Nikola when the Tesla is named after Nikola Tesla, and then Nikola sued Tesla for copying them. It was just mind-blowingly dumb. And this is one of my first introductions to the company. And I was like, wow, this is the dumbest lawsuit ever. And you're a startup. Why are you spending your hard-earned investors' money to sue a company like Tesla for something that's pointless and makes no sense? That is a huge red flag that this management team is willing to piss your money away on extremely poorly thought out lawsuits. That's not a good sign for me. And so I looked into this guy. I'm like, okay, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. What is this company doing? They've raised a huge amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. They claim that they have about $10 billion worth of pre-order revenue for their trucks. That's pretty impressive demand. 14,000 orders. They're hyping this up like this looks extremely legit. They've also recently announced the Nikola Badger pickup, another pickup truck that's going to be, operate on a fuel cell EV or battery electric mode at any given time. Once again, this sort of hybrid technology of battery electric vehicle and fuel cell. They claim this can go 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Awesome, badass looking pickup. So they start that there. I mean, it looks all great and cool, but it's just all smoke and mirrors. I mean, when you take a dive in this truck, they say they have 14,000 pre-orders, 10 billion in revenue, potentially 2.5 years of production. You go to their website, you literally don't have to pay any money to pre-order a truck. You just say, I pre-ordered it. And then they're being like, oh, that was another $200,000 in revenue we just locked up in a pre-order, even though you didn't put in any money. I mean, Tesla gets crap all the time for, $1,000 refundable deposit. Nikola has nothing. So for them to tout this massive billion-dollar order backlog for people who put down nothing makes no sense to me. And then once again, this strategy of we were a fuel cell company, but we're also a battery electric vehicle company. How are you going to dominate these two technologies at once? And they talk about what they're going to use all this money for. One of the big things is, great break ground on this state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Coolidge, Arizona, and begin its hydrogen station infrastructure rollout. They expect to generate revenue in 2021 with the BEV truck, FCEV truck sales starting in 2023, and initial build out of hydrogen fueling stations to serve the Nikola customer fleet such as Anheuser-Busch. I will say it is impressive that Anheuser-Busch apparently ordered 800 of these trucks, but once again, no capital put up front. I don't know how much I'm actually buying that order, but I'm thinking about this. Okay, so they say the company is about to do this reverse merger IPO and raise about $500 million. We can get to why that's sketchy in a second, but you're building a massive factory from the ground up to build a semi truck that's never been built before, and you're building a massive network of hydrogen fueling stations. I mean, I'm no expert here, but this is billions of dollars of capital expenditures and just capital that's needed to just do this massive plan. So I'm like, man, they're going to need a lot more than $500 million. There is way, way more dilution coming. The second thing is, anytime I see a company do sort of a reverse merger to IPO, I think this is a huge red flag. I will say there's one caveat to this, which is Virgin Galactic and Chamath Palihapitiya. He's come up with a new way to basically create a special purpose vehicle and put a nice company in there and, skirt the traditional IPO process. I actually think that's very interesting and innovative, and that's a very high quality company. That is in a class of its own. This reverse merger to me signals, okay, top tier venture capitalists didn't want to fund you. You weren't getting money from big investors. So you decided to go with kind of like a second tier, investment bank and go out to the public market and dupe public market investors because you thought they were stupider. So they're planning on closing this merger with a company called VectoIQ, basically a shell company, in June 2020. And what's interesting here is they say the implied enterprise value at the time of the merger announcement was approximately $3.3 billion or $10 per share. As I'm looking at this company right now, it's trading about $21 per share. So I don't know if this is right, but it says when the merger closes, shares of VectoIQ will become Nikola on a 1-to-1 basis. My calculation is this: if we're at $20 a share, 10 was 3.3, you're buying it at a $6.6 billion valuation for a company with no revenue. They claim to have 10 billion in pre-orders, but none of those pre-orders have actually put down money. They haven't even built their factory. They only have 500 million in the bank. I mean, to me, they're going to burn through that 500 million in 6 months, and then they're going to be needing another 500 million. Is the market going to give them that capital? I mean, to me, this is setting up for consistent dilution after dilution after dilution and burning investors' capital with no real path to profitability. So I took a look at Trevor Milton, and I was like, okay, who's the guy behind this company? He claims to be a billionaire. He's only 38 years old. He's from Utah. He seems like this big, guy. And then I looked on his Wikipedia page and I was like, okay, it doesn't really say anything about what he's accomplished. The only way he's a billionaire is because Forbes reported it, because he owns 40% of Nikola Motors, which is worth $3 billion. So he's a billionaire on paper because he owns equity in this massively inflated trucking company. But the truth is, if you go look back at his past, endeavors, he tried to start an e-commerce company, which he claims was competing with Amazon and eBay, had 80 million users, but then just couldn't get enough capital and had to fold and went under. Then he started another natural gas storage company. Doesn't sound like he's that big on clean energy. And then that ended in some big lawsuit, and he ended up having to sell it at fire sale prices to some sort of company called Worthington. WOR is the ticker. Then the COO of WOR is now coming in, and I guess the sales of that, and I guess from selling his company, Milton was able to use some capital to start Nikola. And now the COO of Worthington, WOR, is now the CEO of Nikola, as they're getting ready to IPO. So they took some of that talent. But that's another thing that's scratching my head. I'm like, wait, Trevor Milton, you're just about to IPO. You haven't even started production, and you're already letting someone else, passing off the CEO reins. I don't know. And I kind of want to make this video because I feel like it's just a PSA. If you actually dig deep, and I tried to go to their page, I tried to read their SEC filings, I tried to find their financials. They're making it really hard to find how much money actually Nikola's losing, how long this 500 million is going to, allow them to have a runway for. There's just not much real concrete info, and I think this is super, super sketchy deal, frankly. And I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. That's my personal opinion of all of this. And I think, if you're going to just tout yourself as a billionaire when you haven't really done anything, just count all these pre-orders when nobody had to put down any money for it. It's you're spending investors' money to sue Tesla because you think their trucks looks like you, even though you copied their name. It's this is just, I think it's basically a scam. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. On the flip side, it's hey, they have a bold, ambitious mission. I'm rooting for them on some level. I'd way rather to see these Nikola trucks on the road than a bunch of diesel trucks. So good luck, Nikola. Keep it up. And yeah, anyway, this is Hyperchange. Huge shout out to our Patreon supporters funding the channel. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.